My 5 is Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State. Where do you have Egbuka on your list, Sam? Is he even in your top 10?
So that's the thing. Ibuka right now, I was just checking. He's number 4 on the consensus board if you call Travis Hunter a wide receiver, right? So the consensus board has him below Oni, Tedero McMillan, Matthew Golden, and then Travis Hunter if you call him wide receiver. I have him at number 11, missing out on my top 10.
Wow. Not even in your top 10.
But again, so here's where I want to emphasize this, because this is going to feel negative, because the question is, why do you not have him where I have him, right? Effectively, it's why are you lower on him than everybody else? It's going to feel negative. I like Emeka Egbuka. I think he's a good player. I think he will be a productive NFL player, but I don't see, I struggle. So Ibuka was one of the guys when we were still at PFF and we were doing, pre-draft stuff during the season. Trevor was flagging this guy as, hey, watch this wide receiver. He's one of the top few receivers in last year's draft class. And I was, so watching a bit of him, like, I don't really see it. Like he's fine, but I don't really see what I'm looking for. Again, it's, I don't really see top wide receiver stuff, right? And I sort of felt the same way, that it's all fine. It's all pretty good, but I don't really see it's just a lack of explosion, a lack of dynamism. It's very heavily dependent on, being the secondary guy within that offense, exploiting the zone coverage, being a lot of the slot production. It's unfair because the comps are going to be like 2 guys that go in the top 5. But it is notable the difference between him and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jeremiah Smith in the same offense. It's like, that's what elite looks like. This is a step down from that. And that's fine, because that's what he's supposed to be at the next level. Like, if you want him to be your number 1 wide receiver, forget it. If you want him to be your number 2, he can be a really good number 2. But that's why I'm a little bit lower on that. I'm still chasing some of the guys that have higher upside than that.
Yeah, so this reminds me of the Anthony Richardson discussion a few years ago. The way I described Anthony Richardson was, I think most people are going to describe the tape the same way. I think everybody's going to have the same basic word description of what we saw, but people are going to value it differently. So that's what I'm hearing from you, is I have a lot of the same descriptors, but I'm going to value the consistency, the subtleties to his game, and I just think he's very good at all the receiver skills, which we'll get to in a second. And I'm going to value that higher. Where I think you've described the same player. I don't think he's a wide receiver 1. I don't think he's explosive. I don't think he's special in and out of breaks. I think he's just really good at all the subtle receiver things. And I'm valuing that as wide receiver 5. Even though when I talk about Jalen Knoll, I'm going to be like, dude, I want to put Knoll at like wide receiver 1 because of the special that he could bring to the table. So that's what I'm hearing, is you're describing him the same way others are.
Yeah, and it's interesting because a lot of other, like, I'm seeing Chris Sims was pretty low on him relative to other people. I saw Lance Zierlein, I think was relatively low on him relative to other people. Zierlein is the guy that kind of does the NFL draft profiles. So I think there's quite a lot of people that do appear to be lower on him than this consensus. I do think that this is different because, like, normally when I'm lower on these receivers than other people, it's because, like, I actually don't think that they're that nearly that good. I think Ibuka is good. I just don't think that what he's good at is as valuable as some of these other things. Like, I think he will be a very useful number 2. He's a technician, right? He's not normally, when you're talking wide receivers, you're talking about the athletic traits and like why they can be special. With Egbuka, you're like, I mean, he ran a 4.48 at his pro day, which is, average. Everything was sort of average, but he's a technician. He's got excellent feet. His sideline work is really good. He understands routes. Like, you can see, he understands both how to run the route and how to exploit the defense. Like, all that stuff's good. But the stuff, and he's good with the ball in his hands. Like, I think that's sort of his biggest strength, maybe. But I don't see the sort of dynamism and the special and the ability to be anything more than a decent number 2.
Yeah, for Egbuka, I tried to not like him because I don't see the special either, right? You're right. 4.48 is average speed. What? Do you have something to say?
No, I mean, I think one of us froze for a second. I will say, look, the chat is out here trashing my wide receiver record. And I as much as there are clearly losses, misses in the last couple of years, right?
Ignore them.
I also really hated Laquan Treadwell relative to the consensus. I was dead right about that. I hated Quentin Johnston relative to the consensus. I was right about that one. Like, there's some wins in there as well. It's not just Jonathan Mingo and Brian Thomas Jr.
Hey guys, just taking a quick break to tell you, hey, just over 50% of you are still unsubscribed to Check the Mic. It helps the channel. It helps to make sure that you don't miss any of our shows. So if you have a chance, hit the subscribe button right now. All right, just ignore it. It doesn't matter. And anytime you make vertical lists, which are stupid, and it's a stupid way to evaluate, then yeah, it's like because you're not conveying that the difference between 4 and 8 is marginal. But you have to, but it's conveyed in a way that makes him look like, oh, 4, this guy's 8. That looks like a massive difference.
Also, you have to hear the risk of becoming Chris Sims and just spending the next hour taking a victory lap. I was right on Jordan Addison. I love Tank Dell relative to everybody else. Like, there's some wins in here as well, right?
And you have to weigh wins and losses relative to the standard, and nobody has a good gauge of what the standard is to say. They're just going to say you were low on Brian Thomas Jr., idiot. Anyway, so I wanted to not like Egbuka because of I don't see the special, right? I don't see the big time speed, even for a guy that is a slot or condensed split receiver. He's not that shifty. He's good. He's not like Luther Burden in and out of breaks, like doesn't pop. But then that's what I started to like about him is he's good at all those things. You mentioned Jordan Addison. One of the very subtle things that Jordan Addison has done in the NFL, just the way like, when you run the dig route and you sharpen it just a little bit back toward the quarterback, you cut off the angle. The subtleties of the receiver position, Egbuka does extremely well. Very QB friendly. He's been productive across 3 different quarterbacks now, CJ Stroud, Kyle McCord, and then Will Howard, right? And there was times when he always seems to be on the receiving end of dimes. And I almost want to like give him credit for that as well. Like he's inducing these pinpoint throws out of Will Howard because he's always in the right spot, takes the right angles. I used to described JSN as navigating through the secondary efficiently and smoothly, and I think Egbuka does that. I just think he does so much well. And then much like when we talked about with McMillan, what we talked about with Higgins, the drop rate's low. The contested catches, he's really good at the catch point. He is really good at winning at the catch point, knowing how to create that late separation, very late hands. He does all of the nuances extremely well. Whereas if he did have another step or he did have a little bit more twitch to his game, I think he'd be a lock, like top 15 type of player. And then I know you brought up, you listened to Greg Cosell and what he said about him. I listened to some of what Greg Cosell said about Egbuka. He described the same guy that we just described. So now it's a matter of how you value. So you told me who he mentioned. He mentioned prime Tyler Boyd, who is a very good player. He was the best number 3 in the league for a couple of years, I would say. Prime Tyler Boyd. I wrote down for Egbuka the continuum of 6-foot plus slot receivers. Amon-Ra St. Brown, or 6-footish. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Boyd, Chris Godwin, like that continuum of guys who live in the slot most of the time. They're not your Wes Welker size player. You're 6 foot plus. So I'm not saying he's somewhere in between, but like that type of player is what we're talking about. Could he be as good as Chris Godwin? I think that's in the range of outcomes. Chris Godwin type. Godwin's probably a better prospect. Could he be Tyler Boyd? I think that might be flourish for Egbuka. So that's a really valuable player. I'm valuing that high enough to put him at 5 on the list here.
I mean, I would say that's a good question, right? If you knew right now that he was prime Tyler Boyd, how high would you draft that guy, or how high would you rank him in a given wide receiver rankings against 25 unknown prospects, right? 25 guys that you don't know are going to be, the top end or the middle end or the low end of their range of outcomes.
In last year's draft class, I think prime Tyler Boyd's probably like 10 or 12. In this year's draft class, if you're valuing a floor and some certainty, it might be closer to 5 the way I've done it. because I
So,
think
I
some
mean,
of these,
obviously, it's closer to
yeah,
5 the way you've done it.
the way I've done, right? And where I think in this draft class, it's certainly higher if the
So,
certainty of Tyler Boyd. What we knew
it
Tyler Boyd was at the NFL level, which again, to remind people, he probably would have been a good 2 for most
right.
teams, but he was in Cincinnati where he was the 3, and he was probably the best 3 in the league at the time.
And honestly, that's basically what the Egbuka conversation comes down to. Almost like literally everybody you hear describe him pretty much articulates him in almost identical terms. The question is how you value that relative to everybody else in this draft class. Let me ask you a question to just tease that out a slightly bit more. To rank him 5, are you out of players that you think have that number 1 ability then? Like, are you already into the number 2s effectively?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was in the number 2s, I think, beyond McMillan. I mean, there's always Luther Burden as a 1 or Jaden Higgins as like a 1. Like, I don't see him as a 1. When I say 1, I'm not talking the specific role X. I'm talking about the 150 target, 100, or say the 110 catch receiver. I think we're out of that guy after Burden, probably. Burden could be a high volume, high catch guy, but I'm talking 110 catches and 14 yards per reception type of player. I think we're out of that almost immediately in this draft class. So we're all into number 2, 3 role type of players in this draft.
Yeah. I mean, I think I think there's the sort of nebulous number 1 thing, but I think X also brings with it a boost because those guys have that scarcity thing. So I'm kind of boosting anybody with X potential up higher as well, which is how you get particularly people like, Higgins, I think is significantly better because of that potential.
And so that's the tricky part. Like if we were putting these guys into categories, because this draft class has a whole bunch of sub 4.4 guys too. Like rank your top 5 deep threats. We could make a top 5 deep threat list of like Chimere DK from Florida and Dante Thornton. Like, who's your favorite Khalif Raymond number 4 receiver, 4.3 guy? And we'll talk about those guys at some point in the next 2 hours here. Anyway, I wanted to not like Egbuka, and I liked him more and more. Watching Will Howard, I'm like, this guy's good. He's good. He's good at all the subtleties. And when you add up all the subtleties of the receiver position, I'm like, okay, this guy's going to be a good pro.
Yeah. And to me, again, I like him. I just have a lower value on what he's good at than a lot of other people seem to. And relative to other people in this draft where I think they have more potential than that. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.